Let's bring in Scott Van Pelt. By the way, great work all week long on Wednesday night. You guys did some really great stuff there. During that Dallas game, you guys on your show did a wonderful job. Thanks for joining us, Scotty.
It's my pleasure. And Dan, as someone that truly could understand it, when you go up to do a fill segment, a fill being just as it's advertised, in between games, following the Dallas game in anticipation of the New Orleans-Sacramento game, and then you find that game is canceled, and then your fill segment becomes an hour and something of live, entirely unscripted, no commercial break television. It's something. It's memorable, that's for sure, and obviously the content wasn't what any of us wanted, but we were just trying to give the most updated information that we had, and it was happening truly in real time.
Yeah, I think we're all going through that now in real time where all of a sudden somebody says this sport is postponed, this tournament is canceled, now the Masters is postponed. And I'm starting to wonder, like, what else is left? What is left to happen except for maybe free agency in the NFL is pushed back, and we don't have the NFL draft. But I'm looking at this this 30-day window, let's say, or 45 or 6. What do you think is next that could happen?
I don't know, and I hesitate to even wonder. I mean, as far as the sports go, Dan, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to postpone. I mean, I was just FaceTiming with my wife, and my kids are down at the beach in Florida, and our sister-in-law said that one of my kids' cousins said, "Hey, you can do our Little League games, so maybe we'll do the Red Sox down in Jacksonville." I mean, I had I'll just say Justin Thomas. So I was going to be coy about it, but he and I were texting back and forth with the players suspended, actually canceled, and he joked that he'd send in video of his practice rounds, and then by the time our text chain was done, we had him and Ricky Fowler playing left-handed with sponsors, and I would wear a hazmat suit. I mean, we're going to have to come up with content and be creative because there's nothing left to postpone. And yeah, I said last night on the show that, and I really do believe this, Dan, that Gobert was the tipping point because he became the urgency of them suspending that game is where it felt like a movie. It's like someone sprinting out on the floor to say, wait, you can't play, and Gobert has it, and it's like it. And so the NBA almost immediately says the season's suspended, and that was the domino that led everything else to happen. If he doesn't test positive, I think right now conference tournaments are playing with no fans. I think they would have continued on. It was inevitable that we were going to run into a stoppage of some sort, but in a weird way, this guy who is pretty reckless and irresponsible and making jokes about it then becomes the face of it, but then maybe can become the face in a good way if it turns out that a week from now or whatever he's actually healthy, and you go, oh, so wait, you mean you don't just you don't just fall over and die? Well, I think we can read that that's the case, but when there's a visible proof of someone having it, and you're like, oh, that's okay. Not okay, but it's not a death sentence, then it becomes maybe a positive in that we have a little bit more awareness about it, understanding that the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions really have to be kept safe. But who the hell knows, man? I mean, in real time, we're all just figuring it out, and it's just such a bummer.
Well, I also agree with you on Rudy Gobert. He unintentionally, I think, helped a lot of people. He made it real because you're seeing something, and once again, we go back to real time, and it's like, wait, the Thunder Jazz game is not going to take place. Why? And, the fans didn't even know, as the public address announcer says, and drive home safely and visit oklahomacity.com for more information here. And you're going, wait, what just happened? And then Doris Burke was doing the Mavs game, and she said, she just said, I can't focus on this. I can't imagine the Pelicans-Sacramento Kings game. Then you're going, wow, like, where is this going? And if Rudy Gobert doesn't, in the Big East yesterday, I go, wait, they're out there. Okay, they're going to do introduction. Wait, the referee has the ball. Wait, they're out at the center. Wait, they're playing? And I went, oh, you guys. And then I go, oh, my God. At halftime, then they canceled. I went, it's just crazy. I mean, there's nothing that will ever compare to this as far as a week. And I've been doing this for 35 years. Like, this is crazy. I hope we never have this again. But it just like it felt like 24 hours was 48 hours.
Yeah, it did, and again, the dominoes is Gobert in the NBA, because once they said we're not doing it, then everybody else that was sort of beneath them, particularly in basketball, on the college side, I'm like, there's just no way they can do it. And I like you, I was just shocked that they moved forward in the Garden, and then for them to get to halftime, and then, hey, St. John's, like, you're good, nice half, you got a lead over a team that's really good, but I'm sorry, that's the end of it. It was just. And surreal is a word that's getting the work out right now, but it certainly is that. And I know for a fact that a lot of coaches in college were trying to convince the NCAA to postpone rather than cancel. Just give some time to perhaps allow for this to get better and improve. But the logistical challenge with venues and with timelines for players who might not be in college. I mean, so many of these schools, Dan, are going online only. Like, you can't be on campus, so where the hell are you going to practice? And I mean, it sucks, for lack of a more graceful way to put it. But it really sucks, particularly for college basketball players who are seniors or people that were heading to the NBA early, that they don't at least get 40 more minutes together to play. Because, I mean, that's an incredibly abrupt thing. I think of your Dayton Flyers. I said this last night. I'm crushed for my Maryland Terps. Everyone knows that's where I'm from. I'm more crushed for Dayton than anybody else, because this is probably as good as it'll ever be. And then you don't even get another game. It's really, really horrible.
Hey, Scott Van Pelt of the Mothership joining us on the program. The Masters game plan, what do you think it is?
I've been talking back and forth with a lot of people this morning, and I was struck by this. If they did this, the Masters prefer the term resources to money, and I would just say, as it relates, I mean, we don't have a back and a front. We have a first and a second nine. All the proper terminology. Yes. Well, the resources at their disposal, as it would relate to the medical community, I have to believe are unrivaled. So if they're doing this, I have to believe that it is because they have spoken to the leading medical authorities in the world, who just explained why now would be a bad time. I think that they are one of the rare events in sports that could essentially call their shot. I mean, I know they wouldn't want to trample, the PGA Tour or obviously another major championship and just, play the trump card and just name a date and say, okay, here's where we're playing. And it's like, well, no, actually, we've got another event. I think they would try to work within the framework of, is there a spot on the schedule? But truly, if they said, we're playing on this date in June or this date in September or whatever, everybody'd show up because it's the Masters. But I imagine that for all the resources they have, I don't believe that they have the answer to when this is going to pass and when would even be feasible. But my hope, as someone who loves the event, is that they can sort out a spot on the schedule where it makes sense. But they close their course down during the season for a period of time. Like, it's just closed, and I don't know when logically they'll be able to do it.
I also wondered about, I hate using the word, but I'll use it, the optics of playing golf at the Players' Championship first round, and then all of a sudden late last night, the commissioner says, we're not gonna continue this. I think they could have continued it. No fans there, and but I think it would have looked bad, and I think the PGA Tour was concerned about how it looked instead of, we can actually do this, and I don't know if any players are going to have any problem with this.
My guess, Dan, is this. Rory McIlroy, who is not only the reigning champion, not only the number one player in the world, but as thoughtful and grounded an athlete as I think we have in sports right now, when he says, you got to test everybody, I think that sends a shiver down the spine of Jay Monahan, the commissioner, who he wasn't combative in his press conference on Thursday, but he was explaining why they were going to try to play. I think they were just trying to be hopeful, trying to be optimistic. Listen, we're going to try to, we're going to play without fans. We think we can try to protect each other, this and that. But when Rory says that, and then let's say you test the whole field, given what we are learning about this, almost certainly, whether there are symptoms being shown or not, a caddy, a player, somebody carrying the sign with the player's score on it, somebody out there probably has it. And then once you find out, well, the PGA Tour put the players at risk because so-and-so had this virus. Well, then, and I'm with you, I don't like the term optics, but it certainly doesn't look great if you've carried on and it turns out that this was the circumstance you carried on in spite of. So I just think the more they thought about it, they just thought, you know what, like everybody's hunkering down, we'll join them.
What's the game plan for the next week?
Mike McQuaid. He was back in the day. He was your guy with Keith on the Big Show, and he's sort of my boss of bosses. And we're trying to figure it out. I mean, I like to think we're a fairly creative bunch, and we can create content in many different ways. But I mean, I'm not a friggin' magician. Like I don't know. Dan, I honestly don't know. I don't know what we'll do. I don't know if we will hit the pause button. And just run games like everything becomes ESPN Classic. I don't know. I mean, none of us have ever been confronted with a world where there truly are no games. So we just desperately need to be popping and go nuts. Like, Brady to the Raiders. We can make a day out of that. God knows.
Day? I'm making a week out of that. A month.
If need be. I mean, we could run simulations. I mean, but, listen, we're going to try our best. We're going to try to be a place people can come for a diversion. But if we've got nothing to cover, I mean, I really don't know what it's going to look like.
We were surprised how easy it was to get a hold of you today.
How so? You think I'd be hunkered down?
Yeah, no sports to cover. We figured you were just sitting around not doing anything, all by yourself. And we, we're calling Barkley next.
Well, didn't he? Trying to make sure he's okay. I mean, he apparently he's making sure he's all right. Listen,
I know.
I could be in the middle of anything, and I'd always have time for you guys. You know that.
I called Boeheim. Boeheim's a mess. He's at home. His wife's yelling at him.
Yeah, we're going to all be kind of. I think we got nothing. Like that's the biggest thing right now. Is like this is my favorite day. This Thursday, Friday of this week and next week are my favorite days of the year. And now I'm off, and I don't know what to do. I guess I'll read a book.
Great to talk to you again. And once again, tell the staff, your guys, they did a great job this week. Certainly that Wednesday night. That was good TV.
Means a lot, Dan. I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. That's Scott Van Pelt.